I want to say hi to everybody who's worshiping with us from home. Great to have you there, and we are back in person. But we want everyone to feel comfortable about when they come back. So there's no rush. Brett, we want to kind of welcome everybody, no matter where you are. So I want to say hi to Joni. I want to say hi to the Arians family and everyone else that's on here. Say hi in the comments. It'd be great to see you. Some of the folks, for whatever reason, Facebook doesn't always let me see everybody. But I'll try to say hi to everybody that I can see in the comments section. And it's been 4 months of just so many things happening, so many things going on in our world. And we finished up a couple weeks ago our last series, and I thought, what do we really need given the fact that there's just so many things going on in our world? And these two words just popped into my head: thoughts and prayers. Like, that's what we need. Like, we need to know that God hears us. We need to know, right, with all of the tension and the hostility and the threat of just all kinds of things, right? Not just the virus, but all these other things. We need to know that we can go to God. We need to know that we have people that care about us and that are thinking about us. And so the shorthand for that on Facebook or on Instagram is thoughts and prayers. And again, it's come under fire. A lot of people have begun to criticize it. A couple of songs have been written with that title because for a lot of people, it's just a nice gesture, right? So you put thoughts and prayers, and then you go on to the rest of your Facebook feed and the funny cat videos and all the other things that are on there, and you just kind of move forward with your life, and you don't really do anything about whatever it is, whatever that, maybe it's a school shooting, or maybe it's a natural disaster, or whatever it is. People are pointing to that and saying, look, yeah, thoughts and prayers, but there's no action. And I've always kind of thought, like, okay, we can fight against that, and we could say, well, no, that's wrong. But I think there's part of that where we have to admit, like, I hope that during these 3 weeks that we look at, that there's just some times where we might tell people, hey, I'm going to pray for you. And we have every intention of doing it, but then we get home and there's dishes to get done, the grass has got to get mowed, and we got all that stuff. And sometimes, right, we might be like, man, I didn't mean to not pray, but maybe I didn't. Or maybe I said, yeah, we're thinking about you. And maybe at that moment we are, but maybe, again, something else crowds in and we just don't really like focus on what that person's dealing with and maybe call them like we should. And so yeah, there maybe has been some inactivity or some unresponsiveness, but I don't, just because it happens sometimes doesn't mean that it happens all the time. And I don't want us to lose the power that thoughts and prayers have and that they can have. There's something amazing, let me tell you, when you know that someone's thinking about you. Maybe they drop you a note, right? Maybe they comment on your Facebook and they say, hey, how are you doing? How are things going? And you're like, wow, they're actually thinking about me. Like, I didn't think anybody cared. Or you, right, like just for example, I had a good friend who just lost his son. It's just a tragic thing. A young guy has had a lot of health issues, and I just saw yesterday that they lost his son. They lost a son, and I was like, man, I'm praying for you. Right, and I don't live anywhere near where he's at, and it's just somebody I kind of know, and so I'm not really part of the family, but there's a part of me that God's going, look, like if you could do something, Fred, you would fly there and you would help him, but maybe that's not possible. But again, God moves, and we want to see that in this series. For the next 3 weeks, we're going to look at that, and it begins today, I believe, with that relationship that we have with God. Because I think sometimes the other thing that we do is, right, we look at direct action as like the best thing we can do. And that, we'll look at somebody who can't go out or can't do this, and we'll say, well, you can at least pray. And if you deconstruct that, and if you really look at that under the microscope, What is that saying? That's saying that, well, maybe God isn't big enough. Maybe God isn't powerful enough. That we'll just pray, as if prayer isn't this incredible thing, right? Because think about this. Prayer is me and you and all of us talking to the one who made everything, who created it all, keeps it all going, is with us, actually sent his son to die for us and to rise for us. And prayer means that I can go to him on your behalf. In fact, we can all together go to him and be in his presence. See, prayer isn't just some magical thing. It's not just some sort of ritualistic, thing that we go through. The most powerful thing is it's a recognition and it's an expression that we have God as our Father. And when you look in this Bible, and I said at the early service, I want to repeat it again, that we could, this whole series is found within this entire Bible. Throughout these pages, you have God saying clearly to us, I made you, right? The people of Israel, I made you as a nation, us as a church, I brought you together, brothers and sisters in Christ, and I want you to know that I not only did that, but I'm right in the middle of your life. I'm right there. When you gather on Sunday, I'm there. When you're at home in your living room, I'm there. When you're in your kitchen, I'm there. When you're in the minivan driving somewhere, I'm there. Every step, every moment, accessible. Every step, every moment, right there with us. And in any good relationship, that involves communication, right? We're able to talk. I'd be willing to bet that the relationships that you have that are strong and that are thriving are relationships where you talk every day and all the time about things that matter. Where it's safe to express opinions, it's safe to just lay it all on the table, warts and all, problems and all, struggles and all, and you know that people are there. And again, the reverse is true. Those times when relationships are struggling, the communication isn't there. And so God knows that, and he's like, look, I want you to go to me. I want to spend time with you. Again, not just on Sunday, not just in those scheduled devotional moments, but every day. That's why we're called disciples, right? Because we're following him, and he's right there with us day in and day out. You go to Revelation chapter 3. This is just an incredible invitation. In Revelation 3, verse 20, Jesus says, "Behold, I stand at the door and I knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and eat with him and he with me." Again, this is written to churches, to gathered believers in Jesus Christ. Now again, this passage has often been used for unbelievers, saying, God's knocking on the door of your heart and he wants you to believe in him. And I think that's valid. God wants all of us to know him and to know that he loves them and to be his kids. But it's especially true for us who believe, who trust him right now. He's saying, look, every day I'm knocking at the door. Every day I'm calling to you. See, and normally we get it backwards, don't we? We think it's a matter of us trying to get God's attention. As if we have to kind of flag God down and go, hey, you got a problem over here, God, if you could just come and help me. And he's going, no, it's actually the opposite. Like we're going about our life, and he's going, hey, why don't you take advantage of the fact that I'm here and talk to me? It's like parents get this because so often our kids struggle and they try to do it alone. And there's a sense where they've got to learn, but there's a sense where they wouldn't it be great if they just reached out and we could help and struggle with them. And they could know that they're not alone. But that's the point. Jesus is saying, look, I'm knocking. Just listen, hear my voice. Hear the knocking, hear the calling. I want in your life. See, the problem in that passage is the door, because I say, look, God, I got this, and I give him the stiff arm, and I'm like, Lord, I'll call you when I need you. He's saying, no, that's not how this works. I don't want there to be a door. I don't want there to be a separation. I want to be in your life, day in, day out, connecting with you, and that's where that eating part comes in, because there's an intimacy, there's a next level connectedness that comes when we eat with people, when we share a meal. And God's saying that's family. That's the kind of relationship we have. That's the kind of closeness we have with him and he with us. It's important for us to see that. I don't have to beg him to do that. He's there. I'm the one who's struggling and who's walking the other way. So he invites, and you get to the passage in John's gospel in chapter 16. Again, another reminder. Jesus is saying, look, he says, in that day when I've given my life on the cross and when I've risen from the dead, he says, you're not going to ask anything of me. Now, that word ask is more of the word that means interrogation. In other words, there's going to be no more questions. Like, I'll have conquered sin and death at that point. And what you're going to do is you're going to ask of the Father in my name, and he is going to give it to you. He goes, right up until now, you've asked nothing in my name. Ask and you'll receive, that your joy may be full. And Jesus explains this to them. He says, look, I'm talking in figures of speech, but there's going to be a time where I'm just going to talk plainly. I'm not going to talk in figures of speech. And that day, you're going to ask in my name. I'm not going to ask the Father on your behalf. No, the Father loves you because you have loved me and have believed that I have come from God. See, it's all about our relationship with God. He came from the Father. He's come into the world, and now he's leaving the world, and going to the Father. And listen to this. This is the thing that matters, is that we now have access to the Father through him. We're no longer separated, no longer alienated. We're now children of God, and he is our Father, all because Jesus died on that cross, because he bled and gave his very life for you and for me. We can call upon him and say, Father, I need you. No, I believe he's going to change our prayers, and I think the closer our relationship deepens, our prayers become kind of focused on wanting to get closer with him, to understand what he's about more, and to know really nothing else but who he is and what he continues to do for us. See, and that's why our selfish prayers, he's not as inclined to answer. In fact, some of those he might say no. Why? Because it might be something that's going to push us away from him. It might be a prayer where I'm saying, God, just help me to become more independent of you so I won't need you anymore. That'd be like a kid saying, Dad, can you give me this so I don't have to see you as much? That's a relationship killer. But Jesus reminds us today, and I want us throughout this series to be reminded that we can go to him every day, directly to our Father, directly to God. Why? Because we're forgiven. We're free. It's not like we have to try. It's not like we have to earn it or to be good enough. No, Jesus did all of that for us. And now we get to spend eternity with him, loved by him and given his good and amazing love.